Welcome, and thanks for watching Retro Tech Toys. Today I want to talk about this Apple IIe computer that I got from an estate sale for approximately $100. It came complete with a printer, joystick, mouse, dual disk drive, and the green phosphor monitor. See all these accessories I have here. The problem is that it does not work correctly, so we're going to fix it today. And pardon the dust over there on the end table, that's actually where I keep the Apple II, so it's gotten dusty over there. Alright, let's turn it on and I'll show you what it does. See all that garbage on the screen? That's not supposed to be there. Now, I can use the computer a little bit, but the garbage never goes away. And some of the keys type incorrect characters. So as you can see, when I do a system check on it, it shows that it's got a RAM issue. Now, it doesn't just have a RAM issue. There's an issue with the I/O card. There are several other issues on the motherboard as well. So we're going to look at that and see if we can get it fixed up. And I placed an order for a new I/O card, a new 80-column 64K card, and in the box below that is an Apple II motherboard that I also got. Just go ahead and get this guy open. Now, I ordered all of this stuff on eBay. I actually got the Apple II motherboard for 20 bucks. And the two cards that I got were about $10 each, so not a big deal at all. Alright, there's the motherboard. Let's get that unwrapped. You gotta be really careful, you don't want to hurt the board at all. Pull it out of its static-proof packaging. I really love it when people actually ship things correctly. So here it is. Here's the motherboard I ordered. Since this other motherboard has so many issues with it, not just the chips, we're going to go ahead and replace the actual motherboard. So let's go ahead and get in here and take out all these screws. You'll find several screws along the front, a couple on the sides, and a few in the back. You just remove all of those, and the case pops right off. Flip it over and carefully lift the case off, and that's that. They're your Apple II components. Alright, as you can see, I have a VidTech 80-column 64K card in there already, but I actually think there are issues with it. So I ordered a replacement to see how that works. Alright, first you want to remove the keyboard ribbon cable and get it tucked out of the way. Here's the broken I/O card. Let's get that out of the way. And let's get all of these cards off of the motherboard and just set them to the side. Make sure to unplug the power supply. Yeah, always unplug the power supply, because we're switching out the board. Alright, now that everything's unplugged, there are just 4 screws in the back that you would need to remove, and once you get those 4 screws removed, it's pretty easy to pop the board right out. You just have some plastic tabs that are keeping the board in place. And you just give them a good squeeze. Here's one, you just give that a good squeeze. There's another one, give that one a squeeze. And there are several more. Sometimes you need something to pry it off. And that's it, you've got them all. And once they're removed, the board just lifts right out. It's that simple. Look at that beautiful board. We're going to set it to the side because I'd like to try to fix it soon. But really what I want to do is just get this computer up and running for now. Bought this board untested, so let's see what happens. Again, you just pop it in, you secure the plastic tabs, and you put the 4 screws back in place, and the motherboard is mounted. It's actually very, very simple. Alright, here's the new 64K 80-column expansion card. We'll plug that in. And let's get the power supply plugged back in as well. And we'll go ahead and take care of the new controller card for the floppy. But we'll get all these plugged in first, just to get them nice and out of the way. Okay, Now let's take care of this controller card. See these two pegs, you've got to remove those. Those are just little mounting bolts or whatever you want to call them. I'd already loosened them earlier, so they twisted right off. And then here we go. We've got the new one in place already, mounted to the back of the case. Okay, so let's get the speaker plugged back in. And then you're going to want to get the keyboard, make sure you plug it in correctly. Since everything is put back together now, we're going to go ahead and reassemble. It's just as simple as putting the lid back on, flipping it over, and reinserting the screws. Now let's check out this disk drive. The Duo disk drive that we've got here, the heads need to be cleaned. I've already got it disassembled here, but I'll show you how to put it back together, which will, be the exact reverse of taking it apart. So once we've got the card out of the way, and there was also a dust cover that we removed, each one of those was just a couple of screws. What we're going to want to do is take isopropyl alcohol and some Q-tips, and you're going to lift the head, just be careful, just gently apply the isopropyl alcohol from the Q-tip onto the head. See, this one was actually not that dirty. I was pretty surprised because the outside of the drives are filthy. The insides look really good though. But I guess that's one of those things, guys. You can't judge a book by its cover, can you? Not always. Let's put the dust cover and everything else back on. We'll reassemble this side, and then we need to clean the other side. Alright, let's get this card tucked back in there like so. Just kind of slides in, and then there are two screws that keep it nice and fastened. Of course, make sure to hook up your ribbon cables that you had to remove. Now you've got one here on the side, and then you have two on the other side. Remember to tuck the wires through correctly so that they fit. There's the first one, and here is the second one. Alright, after you get this one plugged in, you've got one more cable right here. Just get that plugged right back in, and we'll switch over to the other side of the drive after we screw this one back down. Oops, and I forgot one thing here, but that's okay. This will just lift right up and slide back in. And getting the other side taken apart is very similar to what we did over here, but it's actually a little bit easier. So you just have to remove these screws again. And clean the heads just like we did on the other side. Perfect. Now let's get everything put back together. And I did forget one thing here, if you notice right there. Let me go ahead and undo this screw and reconnect this tab. It's very important that you put things together exactly like you took them apart, because there's a small chance that it might not be important, but there's always a chance that what you forgot could be what destroys the thing that you're trying to fix, and we don't want that. Alright, and once we have it put back together, the cover just slides back on, and there are 2 screws in the back. Once you put those screws in, that's it. The whole thing's put together. Now let's take some isopropyl alcohol and wipe this disk drive down, and I want to wipe the computer down a little bit too. I don't expect to get this as cleaned up as I'd like it right now, because it sat in someone's garage for 25 or 30 years at the very least. I don't think they used the computer very much. I think the person that owned this was the original owner, and I'm pretty sure they bought it, used it for a little while, and then let it sit in their garage for decades. So we're going to have to do a little bit of extra work later on to get this perfect. But let's just get it cleaned up right now. I'd like to get just a little bit more on a Q-tip so I can clean a couple of the keys that are a little extra gross. And then maybe go over it once more with the rag. And later on I'll pop these keys off and give them a thorough cleaning, but for the purposes of this video, I just wanted to do a once-over. Alright, now that we've got it back together, let's turn it on. And there you have it. It's working, the disk drive is reading, no more garbage on the screen. Now I don't have a disk, so let's boot into BASIC, which is Control B, and let's type everyone's favorite little program, just to make sure it works. And if you'll forgive my typing, I'm doing this at a really odd angle. There we go. And that is the Apple IIe, completely fixed, working like it should. And if you watch future videos, I will make sure that I get some programs loaded on this thing, and we'll give it a test run later on. A couple things I just wanted to add. The motherboard swap out was not quite as simple as it looked on the video. There were a few things I had to do. I had to take a couple of the ICs chips from the broken motherboard, and I had to replace some of the ones on the new motherboard with. And it was kind of just a process of testing each individual chip to see which ones were bad. Ended up replacing a couple of RAM chips, ended up replacing the video chip, and a couple of others. After I did that, it booted right up and it was ready to go. So, you know, I got this one for about $100, like I said, and, you know, it was complete with a printer and the monitor and the disk drives and the computer and the controller and a mouse, and you don't really find that as often as I'd like to. You just got to be really lucky at hitting an estate sale, and a lot of the things at the estate sale were actually pretty broken, and this being in the garage with no climate control, I was surprised that anything even works, including the green phosphor monitor. I mean, even the heads on the disk drive looked fantastic. fantastic. You know, I expected them to be absolutely disgusting, but they weren't. So, you know, a new motherboard, a controller card, a couple of chips, and a disk drive cable later, and we're in business. And it really wasn't that much to get all of that. Like I said, I think the cable, I paid about 20 bucks for the cable because it's a handmade cable that someone actually makes. And, you know, I paid $100 for the computers. That was 120 bucks. And, you know, the motherboard I got on eBay also for $20, shipped from Canada, and that took care of the rest of it. So kind of a beater, but a perfectly functional Apple II with a green phosphor monitor, which I think is super cool. But anyway, that's it, and thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching Retro Tech Toys.